How do children acquire language? Do they pick it up instinctively without much effort or conscious cognitive work? It has long been argued that the human mind is pre-programmed for language, just like sat-nav that takes us where we're going, and that the linguistic environment is a fairly passive participant in acquisition. But in my research, I turned these roles around. I hypothesized that the complexity lies in the linguistic environment, while the human mind only develops complexity with increasing exposure to linguistic stimuli. In my research, I look at the development of my daughter Sadie, who hears Polish from me and English from her father. If the structures of language are not pre-programmed, I expect to see two different imprints that both Polish and English input leave on her development from early on. For 2 years, from when she was nearly 1 to when she was nearly 3, I followed Sadie with a diary and video recorded her at messy mealtimes and busy playtimes to see how the two languages were spoken to her and what effect they had on what she learned. And this is what I found. First, all over the world, toddlers like to learn first names for objects such as milk, dolly and apple, and Sadie is no different for this. But in Polish, Sadie clearly prefers to like more action words than she does in English, and there is a good reason for this. In Polish input, action words are used as single word utterances 10 times more often than they are in English. For example, the word want is used as a legitimate question, meaning, do you want this? Simply because subject relations are inscribed into action words through a complex system of inflections. But beyond the first words, it is perhaps the way that Sadie uses the language herself that matters more than the way that she hears it used. So when two words start being used together, for example, I want, they create a strong bond and they don't like to be separated. This bond automates their production and smooths transitions from one to the other. And when two languages are used within the same utterance, the switch between these languages does not appear in a place where the bond exists. And instead, Sadie switches in places where there is no bond. For example, I want mleko, I want jajko. Third, as bonds in Sadie's preferred language, English, continue to strengthen, Sadie misses an opportunity to form longer stretches of Polish speech and learn Polish inflection. After all, why mark individual Polish words if there is no context to justify their existence? If there's one message to take away from this, it is that input certainly helps to build the vehicle for communication, but it is only through speaking the language that the child steers her way through the complexity of linguistic environment and allows for the complexity of linguistic representation to emerge. Thank you.